James O'Keefe is an agent provocateur of sorts. He is the same person who brought down Acorn, and now he's going after the protesters who are very outspoken against police brutality. Now, there is a new report and a lawsuit against O'Keefe filed by a man by the name of Richard Valdez. Richard worked for him, and apparently they were working on one particular story involving the Black Lives Matter protesters. So they wanted to see whether or not these protesters were violent against police officials. So O'Keefe, allegedly, according to this lawsuit, had this very, very clever idea of sending an undercover operative to one of these protests and basically incite violence to see whether or not these individuals would say anything violent or do anything violent against cops. Now, O'Keefe hired Valdez to hire a Muslim operative. The Muslim operative was to go to one of these protests and say things like the following: "I wish I could just kill some of these cops."
So the reason he wants them to do that is so that they can get the guys on tape saying, "Oh, you're right, that'd be great to kill some cops." And then James O'Keefe comes out and says, "See, all the protesters want to do is kill cops.
They're all violent, they're all criminals, they're all thugs, the cops are totally fine." So the guerrilla filmmaker wanted an undercover operative to infiltrate a rally held by Reverend Al Sharpton, and it's the National Action Network, in mid-January. So apparently, after this happened, there was a script that was given to the Muslim operative. And the script is, look, it's disgusting, but it's also hilarious in nature because it gives you a sense of what they think about the people that attend these protests, right? So the Muslim operative was supposed to say the following: "As a minority and a Muslim, I know what it's like when the police treat me unfairly. They have even searched my little daughter's body. Can you believe that? Do you know what it's like to have your rights violated because of the color of your skin or because of your name?"
So this is supposed to establish a bond between the infiltrator and the protesters. How stupid and goofy is this? Who goes in the middle of a protest and starts a sentence with, "As a minority and a Muslim"? Like, what do you...
He's
this
a clown.
is so fake. This is so clownish.
He's such a clown. And by the way, it's interesting because through this script, O'Keefe is essentially conceding that cops do single out Muslims, right? They do search young kids that are Muslim just because they're being, you know, profiled.
Right, but what he wants is a twofer here. I mean, why use a Muslim? It's black protesters, the protesters,
It's really
Black
interesting.
Lives Matter, because he wants a twofer. He wants to be able to say, blacks are guilty, and my funders, you'll enjoy this, Muslims are also guilty. Got him, right?
Yeah.
And now, are the protesters Muslim? I mean, I don't know, maybe a small percentage of them are, but this isn't about Islam at all, right? But he wants to say that so that if somebody responds back, he can say, "You see that? It was the Muslims too."
It's absurd. Okay, so there's more. So the script also includes the following: "Sometimes I wish I could just kill some of these cops. Don't you just wish that we could have one of the cops right here in the middle of the group? What would you do if we could get Officer Pantaleo, he's the guy who killed Eric Garner, right here in this crowd? What would you do to him?" Okay, so again, first of all, I don't know if James O'Keefe considers himself some sort of muckraker or some sort of journalist. He's not, okay? In terms of journalistic ethics, this crosses the line in 18 different ways. There's no question about it. But you don't manipulate people or incite violence in order to make your point or make your case. I mean, if you wanted to report on something factual, something that's actually happening, all you have to do is attend this protest and film, right? But he's not doing that.
Or you could ask them. You could interview them, right?
Exactly.
No, it's... So, look, the mistake that Valdez made, the guy who's now suing him, the mistake that Mohammed Al-Homsi, who's the guy they wanted to infiltrate here, made, is they think this guy's on the level. He's not on the level, man. And not only, so we might view these questions as goofy and weird and they're not going to work, etc. But James O'Keefe doesn't need them to work. He needs only partial answers because he heavily edits the tapes.
Yes.
So that's what he did in the Acorn case. He comes in wearing a pimp outfit with a hooker next to him, but they cut, right? He didn't actually walk into the Acorn office that way. They made it appear that he's walking into the Acorn office that way. Then they shoot the video of the Acorn employee as if the pimp is sitting across from them when he's not sitting across. He doesn't need the actual truth. He needs just enough tape to be able to doctor it so that he can present that. But you see, it's not journalism. It's not, of course, I mean, it's ridiculous. The idea that journalism and O'Keefe would be used in the same sentence is repulsive, right? And so And it's not provocateur. It's not like the guys in Washington give him too much credit. They know he's not a journalist, but they think like, oh, he's playing the game. What game are we playing? I mean, you're playing with people's lives. You're playing with the national policy. This is not funny. It's not fun. Acorn no longer exists. They used to help millions of poor people in this country, not just with voting. I know the Republicans didn't want poor people to vote. That's why they hired this bastard to go get them in the first place. But they used to help them get food and get jobs. Now they can't do that. This is not a game, goddammit. This guy's been arrested before for trying to bug politicians' offices. So many other employees have quit and sued him because he had the sexual harassment charges. This guy's like the Suge Knight of politics. He keeps violating the law over and over. No ethics, no morality. And he's right back in there. And the thing is, what you got to understand is James O'Keefe is a little piece of crap, a little turd on the side of the road. That's not the point. The point is you can find a turd in any street in the country. Who's giving money to that turd? And what is their point? Why does he have this huge organization? He's able to hire people over and over again, even after the lawsuits and the criminal actions, etc. Because somebody is interested in smearing black people, in smearing Muslims, and in smearing Democrats, and smearing poor people. They hire this piece of shit to do it for them. Those are the people that should be investigated and find out, why are you giving this guy money?
Yeah.
So Valdez and like I said, Al-Homsi, they say at the end, he felt that we were asking him to do was manipulating poor people. Yeah. Right? Valdez is saying about Al-Homsi, the agent that was going to infiltrate. He says, and on the phone, he emphasized poor black people into saying something that would benefit James' bottom line. And that opened my eyes. What did you think he was doing? Yeah. Oh, that's the whole point, is to manipulate poor and specifically black people so that you could blame them for your bottom line.
So I'm glad that Valdez decided against doing this, although it was originally the operative who said no. In fact, he basically said, I will not be able to say anything that's not the truth to the best of my knowledge, especially when it comes to the way I was treated as a Muslim in the United States. And I will not say words that will jeopardize my entity, especially when they involve an illegal act of murdering police, right? So he was the one, that wasn't Richard Valdez, that was the Muslim operative who said that. Richard Valdez at first was like, what? And then he was like, okay, fine. And so he was the one who actually had to talk to O'Keefe and tell him, no, we're not going to do this, and here's why we shouldn't. It's a bad idea. And he got fired. So he's suing for wrongful termination, right? But I don't think Valdez was like the good guy throughout this, and then he was like, no, I will not do it. I think that the Muslim operative was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not doing that.
Likely both these guys that were working with O'Keefe were probably, deeply conservative. That's why they go to join an incredibly conservative organization. They just didn't know that that part of the job was being a scumbag, right? But that's his whole point. And they said, wait, I don't get it. This would make us look less credible in the eyes of the media. You can't look less credible than James O'Keefe. He has less than zero credibility. You're missing the point. The point isn't credibility in the media. The point is to do a smear job that your donors gave you money to do so you could attack poor people, black people, Muslim people in this country for a political agenda. So they say James is worried about his bottom line. That's what real journalists should investigate. What is the bottom line interest? Who's funding this guy, and what do they want out of it?